creating unity, creating a sense of no more division or inclusion, mostly. So I guess we got the point across. And the reason you guys were in Thank you so much for joining us, for being with us, for your patience today. This is Con Mary Rabago, now in English, Con Mary Rabago in our community, journalism with a purpose. And Danny thought he was going to go get away without answering the question. Since you were so enthusiastic about the question, how can we create the change? How can we get all the sectors together in order for us to really create a change? Not a utopia kind of environment with everybody, you know, sings kumbaya and loves each other, but really work together and put their effort in it.
Well, I think there's a combination of efforts. I think the number one thing is we need to learn to care about each other. As human beings, and not see the differences as a challenge, but as a contributing factor to who we are as human beings. Many times we want to make people who we are, as opposed to allowing people who they are and take the best, for each of one of us to take the best that we've got to offer. So when we talk about fighting hate, when we talk about fighting racism, when we talk about fighting machismo, when we talk about fighting,
really bad.
And we could go on and on and on with the isms, right? We need to say, look, the only way we're going to be a better community is that we learn to care for each other in one way or another. Which gets me to the next point on education. I am where I am today because there was an organization. First of all, you know, I give credit to my parents for having raised me, real strong work ethic, all the good example that they gave me. But there was an organization by the name of Vesta that gave me a $25 scholarship.
$25
to buy books in high school. Those $25 bought me 2 years of high school, but it was $1 million that they gave me because they gave me a sense of self-worth. They gave me a sense that somehow I could make it because I got this. Yes, and all I can tell you is that the success of that scholarship was that in my family, I'm the oldest. There are 8 of us. 7 of us all have university degrees.
What a blessing. What an example to follow.
And the one that didn't go to school retired first before the other 7. Okay?
Well, I need to talk to him.
So,
I need the number.
I don't know how that works, and I've mentioned this in public before. But I think that clearly, and I think Elisa mentioned it because of what Pete said in the past. I mean, the way out of poverty, the way out of a very challenging situation is through education. And if you're an older brother or sister, your brothers and sisters will follow you. They will follow you in a way that you don't understand. And so at the end of the day, we can take care of ourselves.
Resources that are out there. And I can't emphasize enough how easy sometimes it can be. But if you're limiting yourself, you know, you're never going to get there.
But sometimes it starts with our parents.
Yeah.
That they say,
believe in our kids. We have to speak words.
I was a kid, 9 years old, going on University Drive, going by ASU, and I tell my mom, someday I want to go there. My mom's first reaction was to tell me, ¿Y con qué vamos a pagar para que vayas allí? That was her first reaction, but she didn't say it to me. She said, mijo, if that's what you want, you can do it. But amongst parents, be careful what you say up to your kids. Be
Our
careful
words can build them or destroy
because
them.
if you say to them, ¿Y cómo voy a pagar? You could kill a dream.
Pues sí, yeah.
I have an interesting story on that I like to tell when it comes to parents supporting you. So there was an event, a family event. I can't remember what it was. It was a wedding or something. And my dad, you know, called me over and says, mijo, come over. He said, I'm going to make a toast. And I thought it was something for the event, right? But he goes on, gets everybody's attention. He goes, I want to announce that from now on, I want you to call my son Mr. Dave because he's going to grow up to be a businessman. Right? So in front of everybody, it wasn't even our event, a family event, a wedding or something, but that sat with me, right? And I didn't want to disappoint my parents, that he had that expectation and belief in me that I could do that. So what do I tell my daughters now?
Oh,
Doctoras.
you learned the lesson.
I have my 3 daughters, Doctora Larissa, Doctora Haley, Doctora Harold. But What we need to do is, so that's important with the family. That's the core. Without that, it's very difficult. Not impossible, but it's more difficult. But what we're working on too is, you know, unfortunately, Arizona is almost embarrassing last when it comes to per student investment in our students and our system. So we're not sitting back crying at Chicanos por la Causa and saying, oh, you know, the system's
too bad, we're bad.
We're bad. No, we're trying to figure out ways, how can we enhance the system? How can we create economic engines and partnerships locally so that we can have more investments, better choices? We're working with the Charter School Association. We're working with the public schools. We're working with UNAM, the big university out of Mexico City, about potentially opening up schools together so we can have better choices for our kids. So we have to work within the system while simultaneously making sure that we're educating our parents on understanding school choice, understanding Title I, and all these other technical jargons. But we need to educate our, what are the resources? What are the scholarships? CPLC has scholarships with ASU, with U of A, we're working on one.
And now with Ottawa University too,
because
well,
you just met.
Yeah, no, I was wondering if it's important, this would probably be a good question for you, but for the universities to reach out to the communities, not just asking for their kids to go to the school, but to go directly to the high school and tutor those maybe lower level schools, maybe they're a D school or a C school, and not ask for anything back, and create the relationship between the high schools and the colleges, trying to help schools that are struggling. They don't have maybe the resources, and using students to do that job, and they'll learn a lot from that as well, helping kids the high school they may have just left. So
yeah, I know Grand Canyon, because we're working a lot with Brian Mueller in that community.
Yep.
And the Mary Rabago, they actually have a program where they send the students
Exactly.
out to Alhambra and doing it. It's very effective, and they're recruiting more students to come university, and they're actually finding resources so that they're not stressed with how do I pay for it. The parents that don't understand, they're making.
And the parents are being sincere.
Yes.
I mean, but
because they did not experience
exactly,
that.
yeah.
And if you're the big brother that didn't get that opportunity, be the big brother that says to your little brothers and sisters, you can do it. I couldn't, but you can.
And you know what, Elisa, every time I hear, and it's honestly, you're extremely inspirational. You have a way to convey the message to the public. Recently, during the NCLR event, you gave a speech where you talked about your parents, your father in particular, and the impact that he had in your life. Will you mind sharing a little bit of that? Because I see that is the trend that all of us have someone that had believed in us or gave us some wisdom of their own in order for us to be where we are today.
My father's education was through his service in the military. He didn't have a high school degree. He only went through 8th grade. And he got his education through serving in the military in the Korean War. But he always told me, my brother, my sisters, that we could do whatever we wanted to do. We just had to be smart and work hard. And he used to have dichos for everything. and the one that I used to really love, I never understood it until much, much later, was arroz que no se menea se quema. And that is, if you're not doing something, you're wasting away. You're not gonna, you're not gonna flourish. And I've lived that throughout my life. You have to do something. You have to keep moving ahead. You have to keep doing something that's better for somebody else, not just yourself.
I love that, and that definitely resonates with all of us. Well, I am from a very small town, Sonora, Mexico, Baviácora, Sonora. I was also 9 years old. In Sonora, they're the typical big old tortillas o vaqueras. My mom was cooking those tortillas outside because you have to cook them outside. We don't have a radio. We don't have a TV in the area. There's nothing. The highest you can go in education is junior high. And I remember looking to my mom and saying, Mom, when I grow up, you're going to see me on TV and you're going to hear me on the radio. Most parents, just like the situation, should have said, "Estás loca, you're crazy. How are you going to do that? You can't do that." She looked me straight in the eye and she told me, "Sí, mijita, sí lo vas a hacer. Yes, you will. I know, my daughter, that you will do that." That stuck in my mind, in my heart. My background is accounting. Never thought I would be bugging you guys so much through the media, and it's been a career of almost 25 years just because my mother believed in me. There was no resource. There was no way. I was an immigrant. I was a dreamer in this country. If we have this kind of stories, if we have people like Miley willing to support our kids through sports, if we have the community foundation giving those resources to the different organizations, those scholarships, if we have organizations organizations like Chicanos por la Causa that is committed to making a change and a difference within our community with so much resources, if we have people like Danny Ortega, that is not only a lawyer helping us in our community, but an activist and really somebody that is creating change within our community, we have to bring that in our homes also with our kids. We need to start speaking words that they would build our kids. And that, I think all of us, somehow, we are example of that. Do you agree with that?
You know, I would agree with that. Absolutely. We have to have the examples, role models that we look to. And we also have to provide opportunities. You know, my dad was a blue-collar guy. He was a meat cutter for Bashas for many years. And so he couldn't give me the experience or the networks that the business community has, right? So at CPLC, we're trying to create intern opportunities. You have young people working on your staff here, right?
We're doing that too,
Internships.
yes.
We had an intern working, we have an engineering company that does electrical design, and we had a couple of high school students come in. Our first two interns, the first one graduated from high school and now is at MIT,
Wow.
a big university, and the other one went to U of A for architecture school. So we were giving them real experience and what does engineering really mean? What are the opportunities in that? And that's what some of our community doesn't really get that opportunity because most of our community are in those blue collars, not in the white collar type jobs. So that's part of the system that we have, the ecosystem that we need to create so they can get exposed to that thing that really light a fire under them and say, I can do that. I want to do that.
We are running out of time, but before we close this program, I would like at least a phrase of each of you that would be an inspiration or would leave us as a community and what do we do next? An invitation.
Well, I really want to emphasize the message that we need to care about each other more, particularly in our community. We talk too much about being divided. Let's talk about when we are united. Let's talk about the positive things. We're too busy being negative, and we got to stay busy being more positive.
I like that, definitely. Elisa?
Yo con mis dichos, haz el bien sin mirar a quién.
Do the right without looking at who it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love what Daniel said. Just negative, it gets really old, you know. You use positive, and that's through all parts of life. Just being positive, seeing the positive side of everything. And there's always, whatever happens in your personal life or in this country, there's something good going to come out. That's the way you got to think about it. So,
Mr. Adame?
Well, I'm going to fall back to I'm a very faithful person. You know, I don't put it out there too much, but there's a plan for everybody. God has a plan for everybody, and I would say read Jeremiah 29:11, and you'll find out that there is a plan for you.
I love that, and I will close with saying that it's not what happens to us, but how we react to whatever happens to us. And let's start reacting in a positive way and looking for ways of collaboration. It's been an honor to have you guys with us today. Thank you for joining the conversation con Mary Rabago, Journalism with a Purpose. I hope you take a lot from this conversation and put it in action within your community, within your neighborhood, but particularly within your family. Hasta la próxima. Thank you for your time.